With Christmas in the rear view, some Gem City businesses are assessing their holiday haul this year. One Quincy retailer says this Christmas shopping season was the best in his company's 10-year history. 644 Maine co-owner Chris Taylor attributes the boutique's profit to his committed customer base. But he also says his company's success didn't come without challenges, namely the uncertainty caused by tariffs.
Time when we could plan confidently 6 months out with our vendors, and we knew what pricing was going to look like. We knew when things were going to land, and this last year was not that way. Ultimately, that mechanism really had an effect on a lot of stores that are in our category that are shipping in goods that just aren't made here.
Taylor says staying in touch with vendors helped him navigate the uncertainty caused by recent tariffs. Now he hopes local shoppers will continue to invest in nearby stores and, by extension, their community beyond the holidays.
It's made a little bit more of an effort, not just with us, but with all these other cool locally owned categories of things in Quincy to really try and spend the dollars there. A lot of us are turning around and putting that money right back into the community in one way or another.
Taylor says many local shops are offering discounts and refreshing their inventory after the Christmas rush. He encourages everyone to plan trips to local retailers when possible in the coming weeks.